Monty and the Pharaoh. Happy Leap Day. With our super producer here, Mr. Stephen Miller. What's up there, Stephen?
Hey-o.
And it is a leap day, isn't it? Am I in the right universe right now?
Yes.
Excellent, excellent. Before we get to our esteemed guest this fine morning, I want to mention our sponsors, as we are quite grateful for the following folks here at Monty and the Pharaoh. SeatSlink, you can get him at seatslink.com for all your sporting concert events. APB Security at apb.com. Jeff Quest for your graphic designer needs. We also want to mention QuickCast, quickcast.com. Verona Worldwide Logistics. Off the Rails Coffee Roaster for all your coffee needs. Our buddy over in out east, Dumpster Rental of Long Island, of course. And finally, certainly not least, of course, Realty Photo Express. Ladies and gentlemen, we are once again very lucky to add another fine legend to our resume this morning. I would like to introduce our very esteemed guest next to me to my left. Born Terry Scott Shopinski, March 28th, 1962. Oh, got a birthday coming up, huh?
Yeah, I do.
Nice. Born out in, if I'm not seeing this right, sorry folks, but as usual, the Pharaoh does not have his glasses. Pompano Beach, Florida, if I'm saying that right. What was that, Pompano?
Pompano.
Oh, thank you, Eric. As usual, Eric, making sure I'm standing up straight as I fall down. I'm also born in Florida, by the way, so I guess Florida's got it half right.
No, actually, I wasn't born in Florida. I was actually born in Madison, Wisconsin.
Why is this thing lying to me? That's not right. Where were you born?
Madison, Wisconsin.
Oh, nice. Okay, so what's with the Florida connection here? Is there a Florida connection? Or
That's
somebody
pretty much
invaded your Wikipedia page?
No, I just kind of moved down there to stay a little warmer these days.
Okay. Build, folks, at 6'5", 323.
That's kind of light. I was
Really?
actually about between 330 and 340 at my biggest.
Man, oh man. Alrighty. The one major belt I would like to mention was he is 1/3 of the former NWA six-man tag team champions with the great Ivan Koloff and, of course, his partner, the Barbarian. Folks, you know him from the NWA. You know him from the WWF days. Ladies and gentlemen, one half of the Powers of Pain. This is the Warlord.
Morning, everybody.
Thanks for having us here today, my fine friend. First thing I want to ask you is where does it start for you? Are you a fan of wrestling growing up?
I actually watched the old AWA when I lived in Minnesota, and you used to have Billy Robinson, Nick Bockwinkel. I watched him. A whole bunch of those guys back then, and it just interests me a lot. Plus, I amateur wrestled when I was young. I was actually a 4-time national AAU champion when I was young.
Okay. Who was your personal favorite in AWA? How old were you when you first tuned in?
Probably about 9, 10 years old.
Okay. Who was it that you gravitated to right away? Did you prefer the bad guys or the good guys?
Good guys. I actually liked Billy Robinson a lot back then.
Billy Robinson?
And I actually liked Greg Gagne.
Greg Gagne? So you wanted to choke Bockwinkel?
Yeah, and when Vern Gagne would come out too.
Okay. Anybody you patterned yourself after as you started to get into the thoughts of how about the conversion from amateur to professional? Did you start thinking about that? Like, who do I want to pattern myself after in the ring?
Not when I was that young yet.
Not yet. Okay, so how do you break into the biz after the success being an amateur wrestler? How's that happen?
It was actually just got done college and trained at a gym in Minnesota, and that's where Animal and Hawk of the Road Warriors used to train. And it was actually Animal that came up to me and talked to me. Said, brother, you're big, man. You should get in our business. You should get into wrestling.
So there was a connection right away with that team that you always were compared to, inevitably. Do you find that ironic?
Yeah, a little bit in that.
Okay.
Like I say, for them, it's kind of neat following the biggest and the greatest tag team of all time, which is the Road Warriors.
Right. How do you come up with the name The Warlord?
Animal. We were sitting around the gym. He said, man, we need a name. We just started cracking up names, and it came down, and Warlord sounded great.
So he basically suggested you get into the biz, or did you, push a little bit to get into the biz?
I thought about it, but I really, I wasn't going forward with it, and Animal's really the one that pushed me into it.
Okay. Thoughts on Dusty Rhodes?
I love Dusty. I mean, the guy wasn't, listen, for a guy that wasn't a great-looking guy, didn't have a great body or anything else, he had probably the best charisma there ever was in the business. He was a working man's man. He knew how to get the people behind him, and he's the best there ever was at doing that.
He's the one who basically helps get you going in the beginning?
Yeah, he gave me the start. Animal actually brought down some pictures. They were god-awful pictures. And Dusty looked at them, and Dusty said, I like it. I want you to bring them down. And I got a call from Animal, and a week later I'm heading down to Charlotte, North Carolina, an old beat-up Sunbird.
What was it like for you when you first got into the locker room? Was it an easy transition? Were people difficult towards you? Did you have it? You're a pretty big guy. Was it a little bit easier, do you think, or did people bust your balls when you were first coming in?
Not really. The guys are pretty cool about everything and that stuff. Even the older guys, even though they're thinking that you could take their job, but it was. I want to say they put a little scare into you by just saying, "Hey, kid, don't worry about it. If you make a mistake out there, you got 2,500 people watching 10, you got all those millions at home, so don't worry about it." By that time, you're going to the bathroom about 10 times before you even go into your match.
What was your biggest crowd as an amateur in front of?
Amateur was, you had so many different matches going on, and there's matches and all these different mats going on everywhere.
Okay.
But I'm talking nationals where you got, thousands of people in the stands watching.
So you did have that experience before you got to the pros of at least wrestling in front of a large crowd. I know it's a different form of competition, but so you had...
Yeah, well, same thing as also, when I played football in college and all that,
Okay, of course,
played in front of big crowds.
Of course. Thoughts on when you first come across Ivan Koloff?
Oh, Ivan was a machine. Ivan was incredible. He helped me so much and showed me so much of the business in that. You put him out there. You could do a match for an hour. Ivan could still, at his age, at that time, could go an hour match and not even hardly breathe. He was incredible. Do
you feel that he should have been put in the Hall of Fame?
Of course, Ivan should have been in the Hall of Fame.
What is your thoughts on the WWE Hall of Fame, since there's not even a physical building?
It's nice having a Hall of Fame to appreciate the guys, but the problem is it's not like football or baseball where it's actually just the people from the sport. You got like Mike Tyson, which Mike Tyson's a great person.
Okay.
And you got some comedians, which they only put on tights one time and go out there. And here's other guys going out there. They're giving their hearts, their souls, their blood, their sweat, their entire lives to make the business the best there is. Mm-hmm. And they're not even in the Hall of Fame.
Do you feel like the bar's been lowered when you see certain guys getting in? Because there are certain guys getting in that, look, everyone's going to scratch their head from time to time on a certain selection. Do you feel like they're lowering the bar and ignoring guys? Look, ignoring guys like Koloff is clearly ignoring the top tier.
Well, look at a couple other guys. Look at Demolition.
Oh my God! Don't get me started.
They should have been okay. Look at British Bulldog, Davey Boy Smith, that I wrestled so much.
Right.
There's a guy that should have been in the first day.
Right.
And that. There's a bunch out there and that stuff that deserve it so much.
Strangely enough, it still seems like it's valid even without the physical building. Is that wrong for me to think, or it's valid, but it's tainted.
It's tainted.
Okay, fair enough. How about Paul Jones? Because at the time that you were with Koloff, I do believe Paul Jones was also involved with you. Thoughts on Paul Jones, who I think has gone under the radar somewhat in the sands of time. Any thoughts on Paul Jones?
No, Paul Jones was a great person too, and has some nice. He was a great talker. He knew his persona very well in that, mm-hmm. And he helped Barb me a lot by when we got started in that, behind the scenes and all that.
Did you suspect that you were ultimately headed for tag team action when you were breaking in, or were you thinking individual?
I really didn't think about it at the time. I was just trying to get down my persona, my character, and it just happened one day that Barbarian and me came together, and we just hit it off beautiful.
How did you meet?
NWA.
Okay.
We had actually wrestled each other a couple times. They were pretty brutal matches. I was agreeing, and I kind of.
Who was the good guy?
Actually, it was me. But I was a stiffy.
You're so lovable.
Yeah. I was a stiffy at that time.
Okay.
But
okay.
We actually got together, and just the way we were, our look went together, the way we worked went together, and we just hit it off really well.
Nice. So how quickly do you wind up becoming a tag team after you meet?
Right afterwards.
Because
at that time, NWA had nothing going on.
And whose idea was this, please?
It was actually Animals again.
Wow. This
because
is weird.
He said there's absolutely nobody in the world that's going to ever take us down. Nobody's bigger or stronger than we are. And you guys are bigger, stronger than we are, and it's believable.
It was believable. How about when you get your first major strap? And in my mind, you guys, I got to go on record. I am so annoyed. I was a fan of the team. I don't understand. Well, maybe we'll get to this. I don't understand why the belts were not put on you guys in both companies, but maybe we'll explore that a little bit. How about when you do get a strap, when you get the 6-man NWA world title, and you don't just hold it with your partner, you hold it with Koloff. Thoughts on getting a title? How important is it to a wrestler?
Oh, it's great. Having a title is great. It means you're doing something right. Plus, also, just being with Ivan and Barbarian, and actually, being the Road Warriors and Paul Ellering at that time and Dusty Rhodes, whoever was in there at the time. I mean, it was incredible. It felt great.
Dynamic difference between a regular tag team match and a 6-man.
6-man are just so many components going on. So many different tag team. It's like I say, it's 2 extra people. That's what really comes out. You got 2 extra components out there you can use in the ring, and you can do so many different things with it. I mean, a couple guys could be outside the ring doing something. You got some guys inside. You got people all over the place. It's exciting.
Are you surprised to see the popularity of the? See, back in the day, the 6-man was actually somewhat of an oddity. Are you surprised to see its success today? Because now this is all we see.
Yeah.
Or it seems like that. All we see are 6-man tags.
Yeah, the only problem is they have with the 6-man tags today, what they do is none of the guys make any sense going together. At our time, if you look at the guys going together, they all went together very well. I mean, just the tag, you brought the extra person, and everything just clicked together perfect. Today, just kind of throw everybody together now.
Storyline quality in your day compared to today, if you are even watching today. Are you watching today's product, by the way?
No, not too much anymore.
Right.
No.
Thoughts on the way the business has changed as far as the way they write and the way they present it?
Well, first of all, the writers are not in the business and that stuff. They're outside the business. Dusty was one of the few that was a writer inside the business when he was alive and that, But, we told stories. We built something up where it didn't just go for a month and boom, out the door. We built something up for 3 months, 6 months, almost a year sometimes, where you just develop that storyline so when it punched out at the end, it meant something. Today, a lot of times, I've watched it a couple times, you can't tell who's even the babyface or the heel anymore because everybody's trying to outdo each other in the biggest move out there. And how many DDTs can you have in a match? How many, just different these big moves these guys are doing, these guys are kicking out. I don't understand. What do you use for finishes anymore? It's crazy.
I've seen traditional finishes start matches.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Here goes another 20 minutes after he should have been done 20 minutes ago.
And like I say, you give somebody a DDT, you get up and that guy's up before you're up.
Right.
It's like, what does that mean?
What's on the smaller guy nowadays being
able
to do things that only we read about in Superman comics? Yeah. Any thoughts on when you see a smaller, like 190-pound dude pinning a 330 mammoth? Because he did a cartwheel and then bounced off the ceiling.
It's just the way the business is going now. It's unfortunate, because in my time, we were larger-than-life cartoon characters. That's exactly what we were.
Right.
We were real-life cartoon characters.
Right.
And guys that could move, that could do it. They were so strong.
Right. Right.
And today, it's not there no more. You got 170, 180, 190, like you say, 190-pound guys now.
Right.
They're doing, these moves are wild looking,
right?
But what do they mean if you don't beat a guy with it? Mm-hmm. What does it really mean?
Mm-hmm. Thoughts on, and I'm not sure if you're aware since you told me you don't watch the current product, they put the belt on Goldberg just a few days ago. Vince is, he's WWE champion now, and the internet is having an absolute meltdown. So I ask you this, is it wrong of me, maybe I've been watching wrestling too long, maybe I'm from your day, is it wrong of me to go to myself, wow, you're really going to get on your keyboard and you're going to say that this guy's old, but if he walked into your local bar, you're going to fight that guy?
Yep.
Are you out of your mind?
Yep.
That is one juiced up, and who knows? But there's one big boy. Doesn't that have any validity in today's world anymore? This is a huge guy who I would not go near in a bar if he looked, I wouldn't go near him if he looked happy. Yeah. So what is with the keyboard nowadays and the lack of perception on the big man? Did something go amiss along the way?
No, it's just a young generation now. Okay. They've changed. Listen, Goldberg can carry that company.
Yeah, absolutely.
He can
I
carry
thought I thought it was a great business move. WrestleMania's coming.
Yep.
He's money.
Yep.
Brock Lesnar.
Yes,
He's money.
Brock's money is Lesnar. What do you think when Brock goes back between UFC and WWE? He draws the biggest numbers there are.
Right.
Why? There's a reason.
Right.
Goldberg would be the same way.
Right.
Goldberg draws numbers.
Right.
He's, first of all, he looks great. Mm-hmm. He could talk great.
He can still perform
at a great level.
He's gotten better on the mic since he came back. Now, back in the day, he didn't talk. Let's be real. When he was in WCW, he didn't say anything. Otherwise, you're next, But now he is talking. No, he's gotten a lot better.
Yeah.
He's good for business. And when I see John Cena, I don't go, oh no, not again. I go, of course, this guy, he's good for business. People tune in when John Cena's.
The young kids love John Cena.
They do.
They follow John Cena.
They do. I think, and I think it gets lost too. I don't know how you feel about it, but some traditionalists are still so stuck in 1985, and that's cool. It's fine. I get that. But recently, Edge came back. Edge is not from the 90s. He's from the late 90s into the Ruthless Aggression. The fans went nuts.
Yep.
There are younger fans who that's their hero.
Yes.
Oh,
yes. And Edge is not of that, but Edge is a great wrestler.
Oh, he's fantastic. And I'm thrilled he's back. What a great story that is.
Listen, Vince needs some of those older guys to come back that can still perform and ring and do well.
Absolutely.
He needs, those are names. I mean, Goldberg's a huge name. Edge, huge name. Mm-hmm. And they're all money in the bank.
How about Randy Orton, the machine that never stops?
Randy Orton's great. Look at his dad. His dad, Cowboy Bob Orton, was incredible.
Right.
Randy's just a mold in the same thing. That's an incredible athlete out there. And he can work with anybody out there.
Thank you. Underrated a little bit?
Underrated.
How about underappreciated a little bit? Fair?
A little bit of both.
Unbelievable. So what's the deal here, bro? Vacated the NWA world, 6-man belts over proposed scaffold matches? What happened there?
Well, I'll tell you what happened there. The whole thing behind that is, at that time, we were getting ready to do those scaffold matches. And we already knew we were going to be the ones falling off that scaffold. Road Warriors ain't going to fall off that for 30 feet up. We're going to get hurt sometime sooner or later. It's going to happen.
Well, I'm not doing that.
Barbarian got a call from Grizzly Adams, which was Jake the Snake's dad at that time, at his house. And he called me up on a Thursday night, and we were off that Friday, but Saturday we had to be in Baltimore. He calls me up that Thursday, said, and this way Barb talks, he goes, Geddy, I got a call tonight from Grizzly Adams, WWF. They want us to fly us up tomorrow morning to Atlanta from Charlotte. Okay, well, let's go. Let's fine. So we take off the next morning. The plane tickets are at the airport. Get there, get to Atlanta, limo waiting. Go ahead, take us to the big hotel by the airport. Go upstairs, have a key there, open up the door. Inside the room, sitting Pat Patterson, Hulk Hogan, and Vince McMahon.
Oh, holy trifecta.
Yeah. So we sit down. They go through this whole spiel. Now, Barb didn't talk much at that time. So Barb goes, at the end, they go, well, what are you thinking, Barb? Barb looks at him and goes, well, when do we start? I'm like, I'm looking at Barb, when do we start? Well, we want you to start Monday. This is a Friday now.
Wow.
And they want us to start on a Monday. So I'm like, okay, Barb, that's what you want to do. So we have to go back to Charlotte now because we have to fly to Baltimore the next day. And this is funny what happens here. We get to Baltimore. We're doing a 6-man for our belts that night. So we go out there, and Animal was still hurt at that time. Supposedly. Okay? Because he cracked his eye socket is what had happened. Okay. Stupid move I did that done a million times, I guess just our size. It was just too much for that move. And my shoulder blade went into his eye socket. Broke his eye socket. So we're going to Baltimore. We get there, and we get out to the ring with Ivan, and out comes Hawk with Dusty Rhodes, and Paul Ellering was filling in for Animal. So we go through the thing, and right as we're getting ready to start, all of a sudden, the Road Warriors music comes back on. It was Barbarian and Hawk getting ready to start. So we stop. I'm saying, well, how come their music's coming back on? All of a sudden, here comes Animal with a hockey mask on, with this spider on hockey mask. Mm-hmm. He gets in the ring. People are going crazy.
Oh.
He tags Hawk to start with Barb. They circle. They're about ready to start. He stops. He rips that mask off. He had his face painted underneath that with the spider now. He took that mask and threw it to the crowd. We had to sit there for about 15 minutes. They were fighting for that mask. I mean, literally fighting to get that mask.
Chaos.
So, get through the match. We get disqualified, but you have to get beat. So we still have the belts. Get to the back, and That's when Barb looked at Dusty and said, Dusty, thank you, but he says, we leave, this is our last show, we leave Monday for WWF. That's how Barb did it.
Was Dusty upset?
His mouth kind of hit the ground a little bit. But how can you be, Animal just came over, Animal says, shook our hands, said, guys, perfect, because you guys are going to fall off the scaffolds every night. And we knew that.
Wow.
So it was a good move.
Let's just get it. We've been talking about them, obviously. Major reason why you're sitting next to me. Thoughts on the greatest tag team in the world, the Road Warriors?
Road Warriors. I mean, they're incredible. Listen, the guys. They changed tag team wrestling when they came out with those spikes, the painted faces, as big as they were, and just came out and destroyed anything in their path. No one had ever seen anything like that. Guys have seen big tag teams, but not like that. You know, same as Hogan. Hogan was the first big man at 300 pounds that sold. He crawled on the ground. When do you see a 300-pound man built the way he's crawling on the ground and got the sympathy of the people at 300 pounds?
Is Hulk Hogan the most important wrestler that's ever been in this business?
Yes. Yes, I believe so. And also Ric Flair. He changed around wrestling as far as doing everything. I mean, he could talk. He had charisma. I mean, he could work just... You could put him in a match for 2 hours a night. He could do it 2 hours a night.
Unfair question. Compare Hogan to San Martino. Unfair. I know. Try.
They're two different eras. Bruno was a as far as traditional wrestler, incredible. Hogan, as far as entertainment wrestler, incredible what he did.
Was there any teaching behind the scenes back in the day on character? Obviously, there was tips being given at the locker room. Do it this way, do it that way. Be careful. Turn your head this way. That's obvious. Was there any tips to you about your character?
Pretty much they didn't care. Pretty much, we were lucky at that time because we got to go to different territories, and we got to develop our character in every single territory.
Okay.
So by the time you got to the WWF, you could work with any kind of character, any kind of style that there was in the ring. You didn't come out of developmental school. We learned from the same person how to talk, how to walk, how to go ahead and perform, how to do everything, We got to go to territories and learn.
Company philosophies, though, between NWA and WWE, and also television product approach and final product that the fan saw clearly different. So there had to be some sort of shock as you came into WWE, perhaps?
It was 9 days. Listen, production in WWE was great, but it was still more towards a traditional wrestling.
Okay.
WWF was glitz and glamour. That's what it was. Lights, the outfits the guys wore, everything. It was glitz and glamour. I actually saw it for the first time when I was in college, when it came on cable TV, and I looked and I said, "Wow, that is they're from another world. That's unbelievable." Here I'm watching. That's when I watched Jimmy Snuka back then. I was watching the British Bulldogs back then. I mean, it was just night and day between the two of them. It was like the difference back then between when WWF was taking on the WCW at the time. Two different worlds at the time.
As a fan of Powers of Pain, I was frustrated for you, but now that I have you next to me, were you frustrated being in the shadow of the Road Warriors? I mean...
Not a bit.
Not
a
at
bit,
all.
because it's an honor being just, right with them. I mean, also being the first tag team to actually put them on the ground. We were the first tag team to ever put those guys out in that bench press contest. No one had ever done anything like that to the Road Warriors. No one even touched the Road Warriors at that time.
Frustration over never getting the belts, because, again, I'm speaking as a fan.
Yeah, I think we deserved them at the time, but I also understand it was business. As you get older, you understand all that.
Preference, heel or face? At the end of the day?
It really doesn't matter to me. If you want to sell merchandise, be a face.
Okay. All right.
Being a face.
How about after Austin kind of like turned the whole behavioral thing and faces could even act like bad guys? Do you think the value of a bad guy has increased over the years? I think so.
Oh yeah. Listen, Austin at that time when WCW was so hot and taking all the ratings, Austin's the one that saved that company. By what he did and what he did out there. I mean, doing the 316, doing all that, he saved that company.
How about thoughts on Baron von Raschke?
Oh, Baron, like I said, I watched him in AWA too when I was in Minnesota. I was a kid. Baron was great, very quiet man. But, look what he did in the ring. He didn't have to do much. He did the stomp. He put the big claw on. I mean, he didn't have to do a whole lot. But what he did great.
You have a Koloff aura to him by any chance? Because they both struck me so similar on camera.
Very
Was their
similar.
presence very similar in
Yes,
real life
very
in the
similar
locker? That's
people.
interesting.
Yes, very similar.
Okay. How about your memories of Survivor Series coming to the aid of the great Mr. Fuji after defeating Demolition's team? Of course, Demolition goes and turns heel.
Yeah.
And out of nowhere, there you are saving
Mr. Fuji.
the great Mr. Fuji.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on that? That was a major moment there.
The funny thing about that, and that was great because we got to work
that
with
was
so
awesome.
many talented tag teams in one ring and put out such a great show. And to come out of it with the Demolition at the end and to take Fuji, the problem is everybody thought that Fuji turned babyface with us.
Mm-hmm.
So when we got done, people were cheering us and loving us as we're carrying Fuji on our shoulders, out of breath, dying, walking him all the way to the back on our shoulders.
Right.
But it took a long time to have the people turn us heels. We actually had to go out every night, and after our match, we'd have to go run to the ring and pound some babyface real bad, do something real big to start having people start realizing we're heels, not babyfaces.
Yeah, it's bizarre. I was thinking, though, got to give Mr. Fuji a lot of credit for all the heel heat he had built up to that point over all those years, because this didn't really work. Go ahead, beat his ass. He's such a bad guy anyway. Get a load of this.
Yeah.
You got to make up for his.
Look who he had, man. Don Rocco for a long time.
Yeah.
He was in that tag for a long time.
Yeah.
He had Demolition for a long time. I mean, he was very good at what he did.
I'm from the days of Fuji and Saito.
Yeah. Fuji was a very, very smart man in this business. If you liked it, you loved it. If you didn't,
Was he as wacky as I've heard? I mean, when he took a rib out on somebody, was it as legendary as I've heard? He was pretty.
It was.
So he had his haters then, obviously.
Like I say,
Fuji's mean.
If Fuji liked you, he loved you.
Okay.
If he didn't, hide.
Right.
That's basically the way it was.
Right.
Because if he'd find you, something's going to happen.
Right. Thoughts on my personal, no offense, my personal favorite all-time tag team is Demolition. Thoughts on Demolition?
Great tag team. Two of them went together great.
Why are they not in the hall with them? Is that because of the lawsuit? Or,
Hold
on a second. Did you ever? Were you involved with that?
Yeah.
You were involved
we
with
were.
that. Okay.
Listen,
okay.
a lot of the guys are in a lot of pain.
Right.
A lot of guys, even like me, man, I get a lot of headaches all the time and
You
that
do.
stuff,
Okay.
And the other guys, some of their guys are a lot worse than I am. A lot worse.
Where does Vince McMahon stand in your mind as far as accountability towards the guys who've put in years and years to this business, who are obviously suffering now? Does he owe them something?
This is what I say all the time. I have no animosity towards Vince whatsoever. None. Okay. He helped me not take my persona from a national level up to an international level. Mm-hmm. He gave me, he gave me a lot of merchandise. I got I got a ton of action figures. I got all this stuff, which I really appreciate.
Was it hard for you when you made the decision to be involved in the lawsuit against him? I mean,
it was hard. Of course.
So there was a lot of soul searching.
Yes, it's a big decision and that stuff. Yes.
Is Vince McMahon a bad person, from what you know, from what you've seen?
This is what I say to people: Vince is a businessman, and that's plain and simple. Okay. He's a straight up businessman. And he's going to make everything through business. That's what he's going to do. Like I say this, so many guys in business hate him. I've never hated Vince. Never will. Mm-hmm. I just wish he would have done more for guys in my era.
Right.
That did so much for him to build this business to bring it what it is at that time and what it is today.
How unfortunate do you think it was? Because at one point, from what I understand, you can correct me if it's incorrect. What I understand, Jesse Ventura had almost gotten something started where there was going to be a union, and Hogan supposedly squashed it or something like that. How important do you think that moment was as far as the fate of so many wrestlers in the future? And do you wish there had been a union? And do you think there ever could be a union?
There'll never be a union. Vince will never let it happen. Just like the UFC, Dana White will never let it happen.
There it is.
It's the same thing. It'll never happen. Vince gets one word of anybody doing it, they're gone the next day. He did it to Brian Blair at the time. Brian had talked to Gene Upshaw and all them stuff in the union, and talked to the NFL union. And next day, boom, they're gone.
So at the end of the day, the only thing that could probably ever really happen that would make it happen is government intervention.
Government intervention, just like with all the guys that died before 40 years old.
Right.
They stepped in and said, "Hey, what's happened to all these guys dying before 40?" Right. All of a sudden, there's a health and wellness program.
Right.
Overnight.
Right. Why did Vince never pull the trigger on you guys with the belts, please? Any idea?
I really don't have a clue.
Was it ever discussed to you, like, hey, you guys are in line for the belts? Did you ever get the illusion that you were going to get the belts? Because look, as a fan, this is BS.
Yeah. No, they had talked to it. They had talked to it, and I said, but it's like I say, at that time, man, I really didn't understand the whole business yet. I understand it a lot better now. At that time, I really didn't. And it was just a lot of things behind the scenes. A lot of them.
Okay. Why were you guys split up?
Really don't know to this day.
What?
No. What do you... the biggest thing I heard is that one was going to work with Hogan, and the other one was work with Ultimate Warrior. That's what I had heard.
Okay.
And that really never materialized. I did some shows with Hogan, which they were great. I mean, we sold the places out. And I only did a couple interviews for it, and boom, the places were sold. And
how easy was it working with Hogan in the ring?
Incredible.
Okay.
To work with Hogan, you get out there, and you get in the ring, and here he comes out, all these flashes going off. He gets in the ring, he walks around like he does. He rips that shirt off, and all you see is all these cameras going off everywhere, and you got goosebumps, and everything goes black for a second. Like, wow. This is incredible.
Describe his personality towards other wrestlers in the locker room. Was he... Look, I really want to know, was he a locker room leader, or was he Hulk Hogan who came and went and did his business?
Hulk was just one of the boys.
One of
us in that. Yeah, he never acted different behind the scenes or anything else. Always one of us.
All right, we have a question from YouTube land from Devious One. Okay. Warlord, what is the craziest fight, if ever, you witnessed with Haku on the road?
Oh, boy.
I never saw Haku get into a fight. I did see him at a bar in Baltimore. I was there that night with Tonga Kid. And he was normal. He'd been drinking just a little bit, not too much. And I looked at him and I said, Haku, how you doing? I said, I'm doing good, brother. All of a sudden, a couple seconds later, I see him. This place was jam-packed. It was called the Safari at the time. And he made a V-line for this guy, straight through this crowd, went to the guy, grabbed him, bit his nose off.
What?
Oh, yeah. Blood.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Like in the whole nose, in the mouth, spit it out.
Yeah, it was.
What happened to the nose?
I don't know. It was just blood coming down. So we get him out of there. We take him back to the Holiday Inn we were staying at. And right away, I tried to get him up to his room. Okay, got him in his room. Come back downtown. Well, Haku ain't going to stay in his room. He came down a couple minutes later to go to the bar there at the Holiday Inn. Well, here comes about 25 police cars. Okay, up there. They all come running in. And it's like, guys, give him a minute. He'd go right now. He's going to fight. Okay, and he ain't going to go down. Give him a couple minutes. He'll be cool now. So it's kind of like, remember the Blues Brothers in the elevator with the music going on, that elevator music? That's kind of like what it was at that time. Everybody's music going on like that. As soon as that couple minutes went up, they went up to Haku. He turned right around, put his hands out, and that was it. Haku was... Listen, I tell you, he gave his shirt off his back. But he just didn't want to end up saying something wrong or be on his bad side one time.
So his reputation is safe. He's basically the toughest guy you've ever seen behind the scenes.
Him and then Barbarian right behind him.
Barbarian right behind him?
Right behind him.
Did you and Barbarian have a conversation with each other when you realized you two were split up since there was no, formal whatever? Or?
We hated it. We loved being together. We went together very well.
How long did it take you guys before you did wind up back together in the ring?
Well, after we left there, it was a couple years. I had a car accident that took me out for a while, some years. Mm-hmm. So it was probably nearly about 10 years afterwards.
You prefer wrestling as a single or afterwards? I mean, did you go, I don't miss tag team wrestling, or?
That's all I do is tag now.
Yeah.
I don't want to.
How did you feel when they did try the singles push for you?
The singles is, listen, I enjoy. I got to work with some great people. I got to work with Tito Santana. Mm-hmm. I work with Jimmy Superfly Snuka. I mean, that was one of my idols when I was in college and that stuff. Of course, I got to work with Bret Hitman Hart. Which, if you can't work with Bret, you deserve to be in the business. And also working with the Davey Boy Bridgeball, which we had great matches.
And on that, how about the memories of WrestleMania 6 and thoughts on him in general?
Davey Boy was a great wrestler. I mean, he grew up on wrestling. He grew up in wrestling in England, and he came over. And of course, he went up to Stu Hart's place in Calgary. That's where he learned and all that. He did his thing, and then also he got that big shot in the WWF at the time. Davey Boy could wrestle. Davey was, a 285-pound guy that could move like he did, and everything he could do he was incredible.
So, basically, after WrestleMania 6, did you realize at the time that you would be moving on, or was there any indications that you would be moving on from the company, or
No,
how do we wind
nothing
up-
really at that time. No.
Okay. So how do we? Where do we go to next after Vince? I mean, what are your thought process, or is it an accident that the accident you had derailed you, or?
No, it just I went, just after I was done there, I took a little time off. I needed it because for all those years you're traveling every single day. People don't realize, we're doing 320 shows a year. We were on a jet to some different city every single day of our lives.
Right.
I mean, you just became a robot.
Right.
And I just wanted to get away from being a robot for a while and just get my life back together and get my thoughts and my mind back together. So I took some time off. And I went on and started doing some single stuff again. Just some singles on, for Independence and that stuff, for a while. I just kind of moved on.
Describe the drug scene back in the day. How bad was it?
It was bad.
Were you able to avoid it?
Yeah.
You were.
Yeah. Listen, guys, I'm not like everybody. I don't cover that. The only thing I ever did was steroids in my life.
Okay.
That's it. I'm not going to lie. Look how big I was. Of course.
Right.
I'm not stupid, man,
Right.
So many guys, anybody can see, they can look at somebody. You can tell somebody is or not. You can tell.
How bad were the side effects of steroids for you?
I never had any problems.
Okay.
I never had any problems at all.
Okay.
But, I'm not taking mega doses like some people do in that. And I'm also not mixing things. I mean, you can't take steroids, then you take, you're taking, 20 Percocets a day. You're drinking. You're taking stuff to take you down at night to make you rest. Your heart is up and down the entire time.
What was your busiest work schedule like when you were at the height of your career? How many days a week were you working? How many matches a week were you working?
Well, I can give you one of my schedules over this few days here. I lived in Minneapolis. I flew to Washington, D.C. for an afternoon show on a Saturday at the Cap Center. Did a show there. Had to go right back to the airport and catch a flight to Boston, do the Boston Garden that night. As soon as I got done there, I had a 7 o'clock flight the next morning to fly to Denver. Did a 1 o'clock in the afternoon show in Denver that day. Right after that show, I had to drive down to Colorado Springs, do a show in Colorado Springs, back to Denver that night to catch a flight to Seattle the next day. Had to do a show in the Tacoma Dome. Did that show, went back to Seattle, had to be down in Phoenix the next day for TV. Did a show in Phoenix. After that, I had to drive to Tucson. Did a TV in Tucson, and then back to Phoenix. From Phoenix to Dallas, did a show in Dallas the next day, and the next day ended up in Madison Square Garden last night.
In
those 2 days.
You didn't mention whatever pills you were taking to stay awake. What were those pills?
Yeah, that was just loving the business. That's exactly what it was.
Favorite match in your career?
As far as singles, Davey Boy. Davey Boy and me clicked.
That
We
was
clicked.
it for you?
Yeah.
That's the pinnacle?
Yeah, we clicked.
We always ask this on the show, so don't smack me. Man, that would hurt. Favorite payday? What was your biggest payday? Was it WrestleMania 6?
Yeah, last year it was WrestleMania 7.
It was
with Davey Boy.
WrestleMania 7.
WrestleMania 7.
Was that WrestleMania 7? Okay.
WrestleMania 7.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the biggest one.
How much?
Davey Boy.
That's what we asked.
If I remember, I think it was 25.
Wow, okay.
We have another question. Well, we have two, actually. One from Big Bubba, who was asking about the steroid trial and your testimony.
Yeah, I was the second one on the stand in that. Like I told him, I told everybody, everybody did steroids at that time. The biggest thing I always said, though, and I said, Vince is a promoter. Of course he'd love you if you were bigger and if he did something, whatever. But he never made you or forced you or told you you didn't have a job if you didn't do it. He had nothing to do with that. So everything was on what we decided to do and what we did.
The second one is from MAGA 2020, who asked, is there anything that they ever asked you to do in ring that you refused to do?
Yeah.
Besides scaffolds.
Yeah.
We already got that one.
I think it was one time cutting my head, which, no. I got to live with this face. I don't want my ears touched. I don't want my nose touched. I don't want my forehead touched. I got to live with this the rest of my life.
Thoughts on... you got another one
No,
for me,
that's
brother?
good.
Excellent, thank you. And thanks to the audience for the questions. Thoughts on when Mick Foley was thrown off the cage, forever changing the business, because what you just described, the not wanting to blade yourself. I got to look in my face in the mirror every day. Foley obliterates that bar, and now you have kids and backyard wrestling starts. Any thoughts on when that all went down, and thoughts on Foley?
Was that the one in New
Hell
York
in
City,
a
Madison
Cell,
Square Garden?
where your Undertaker threw him off the top.
Was that the one in Madison Square Garden?
Where was that?
Pittsburgh '98.
Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh '98.
It was some bad stuff.
Listen, Mick did
Classic.
listen, Mick, like I say, Mick was like Dusty. He had unbelievable charisma. He could talk. I mean, he was, and he didn't have to wrestle a whole lot. Okay, it just wasn't his persona. That's not who he was. Mm-hmm. But he did some crazy stuff to get over. He didn't have the body. He did what it took to get over, and he had to do that crazy stuff. And I mean, that stuff was insane. The stuff he was doing. I remember one I had heard that he did I think it was Madison Square. If I remember at Madison Square, his family was in the front row and his kids, and he came off the top of a cage and let in front of him, and his kids just started crying.
Right.
And he basically said, what I understood of it. He said, I'm done with doing that anymore. Because I saw my face of my kids afterwards, and that was it.
Right.
That was it.
Right. So, are you a fan of the direction the product has gone in as far as it's become quite violent? I mean, it's common now.
Well, because they've right now they're taking that into AWF right now, and look at them what they're doing. They're doing the same thing, the violence. Mm-hmm. They're doing the exact same thing.
Thoughts on MMA, UFC?
I love MMA.
Make you chuckle? Seems kind of like WWE in some ways.
If you look at it, Dana White has followed the same footpath that Vince has been following to a T. Mm-hmm. Everything that Vince has done, Dana White does.
Would Warlord have been a cage fighter?
I would have loved it at the time.
Well, get a load of you.
I would have loved it. When I was young, oh yeah, I would have loved it.
Thoughts on Tyson Fury? Bringing boxing back. We're talking about boxing. Look at this.
Yeah, I was surprised. I really didn't think he'd win last week. Mm-hmm. But
really?
No, I really didn't think Tyson
would win.
No,
I
just
did.
because what's his name? What was it?
Wilder.
Wilder. Yeah. He's not a huge guy, but he's got such a hard punch. I really thought he might catch one. Mm-hmm. But Tyson Fury did the right thing. He knew that Wilder is thin, not a big guy for a heavyweight. Mm-hmm. So he packed on pounds. Yeah. And he knew he could absorb punches and everything else putting on those pounds. You can absorb a lot more. Yeah. And you're going to have a lot more power behind you. So when you hit, it's going to hurt that other person a lot more. Tyson Fury did the right thing exactly to a T. He did it right.
And he got it done with flash and substance.
And Tyson Fury,
he's real good for that business.
He takes a book out of wrestling. Mm-hmm. Entertainment. Yep. He's a great entertainer.
Yep. How do you feel about the E in entertainment in WWE at this point? Do you think that wrestling is almost, is it disproportionate right now, or does Vince have this right now? Because it seems like it's much more entertainment than it is wrestling. So you can't even say wrestling, by the way. Don't you dare. Yeah. Any thoughts on that direction? Do you think they should go back a little bit more to the wrestling again? Or?
They won't.
They won't.
It's just a direction.
They won't.
It's a direction they're moving in. It's what it is. They feel that the people just want to be entertained. Right. And that's why they teach guys. They teach these guys to work, but they also teach them even more to talk now. Even more so.
Prefer TV or house show when you're wrestling, when you're performing?
I love house shows. House shows are great.
House shows.
Yeah, I love house shows.
Less pressure? Tell me why.
No, not just because less pressure or not. Somebody just enjoy the house shows. I mean, TV's most of the time you're just going and squashing somebody. Mm-hmm. You're just pounding them, boom, 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 throwing them around like a little, like whatever,
And speaking of that, when you actually had to go more than a few seconds, how important was your... Look, you guys looked fantastic. How important was your conditioning?
Oh, we were conditioned.
I mean, but how important was it at the end of the... Of course it was important to look that way, but when you were having these short matches, did your conditioning come through for you when you had to go longer?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I could do whatever back then. It didn't matter. If you want to do 10, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever, it didn't matter.
Wrestler with the most stamina you ever saw in the ring. Like, oh, my God, this guy could do this for 3 weeks. Was there any particular...
In my time, Ric Flair.
Ric Flair.
Ric Flair. Okay. Like I say, Rick could probably... I saw him do hour matches in NWA, and he... Boom, just like that. He could probably go 2 hours like Ivan. Same thing.
Do you feel Hogan had more impact at the end of the day on the business as far as dollars, bottom line dollars, than Flair? Because to me, Flair is both the ultimate entertainer and the ultimate in-ring wrestler. Yes. Hogan was the ultimate entertainer and a very serviceable, for what he was asked to do, wrestler. Yes. So is Flair the greatest, or is Hogan?
Hogan's the biggest name of all time.
That's what I say.
Always be the biggest name of all time.
Yes.
That's biggest money producer ever will be.
I think so.
Yeah. Flair's on his tails.
He is on his tails.
Flair's on his tails.
So where do you put Flair when you talk about The Rock and Austin? Where does Flair go when it comes to the Rock and all? Because we know that Austin is certainly the Hogan of his time period. He has to be.
Yeah.
And the Rock is right there, up his heels, like you said. So where does Flair... Where is that? Is this like the best endless debate, basically, you can basically do?
Well, listen, Flair's... Look at what The Rock did. Look what Steve Austin did. But then take a good look at Flair. Not only did he do in WWF, NWA, he did in every territory across the whole country and the world. Puerto Rico, everywhere he went, he did it. He did it. I mean, one year, I know I heard him on schedule, he almost worked every day 1 year. He wasn't even home. He went, and everybody wanted to have him in their territory to do shows because he was so good. Flair was incredible.
Do you think the territory days would be better now?
I think it'd be great for it. I really do, because the guys would learn so much more. And also we'd have all these, instead of today where they come in the ring now, and they're basically all the same characters now. You'd have all these different kinds of characters come to the ring and work in all these different kinds of styles. Maybe get some heel and baby faces out there again.
Thoughts on the women's revolution? This ought to be good.
At my time we really didn't have pretty much wrestling. The only one we really had was Sherry Martel, Medusa, things like that. We didn't have much in my time, but boy, they were good wrestlers. The women's wrestling has come a long ways, and it's also a big draw now. It's just like in UFC. It's a huge draw. The women are at the top now in UFC. Dana White used to laugh about it. Vince used to laugh about it. But they found out these women can draw.
Can someone overtake the WWE if they fall asleep at the wheel?
No.
Why?
Name. Just
Why?
that name recognition. When you see WWE, that's God.
So Cody Rhodes and the boys don't stand a chance?
No.
Interesting.
I love what they're doing. I love that.
Interesting.
They got a huge backer behind them. They got a lot of money, everything else and that stuff.
Does it remind you of WCW?
Yeah, it reminds me of
It
WCW.
does, doesn't it?
Yeah,
I thought it was.
WCW.
I wasn't imagining things.
But if you still look at the shows, WWE still, they have that, when you watch a show, it's still that glitz and glamour. AEW is good, but it doesn't have that same glitz and glamour.
It also has a limited roster.
Yes.
So until they expand that, I'm not really sure where they're going.
Yeah, but they got some great wrestlers. Young Bucks, all those guys, they got some great wrestlers.
Got any Andre the Giant memories, by any chance?
A lot of people ask me about Andre, too, and that stuff, and I'll tell you, man, this is Andre. If he loved you, he loved you. If he didn't, run. That's how it was with Andre.
Did he love you?
Yeah, thank God.
Lucky you.
Actually, this was a good one time. I was in a first-class seat in where we were in SFA, because I flew Northwest all the time, so I had that gold card. So I always got upgraded to first class. So I'm sitting on the inside by the window, and there's one seat left in first class. Well, who gets on the plane at the very end? Andre.
Hey.
Now, in between, they got those big trays in between the first class seats. His hand was so big, he went to that tray, pulled it out, just his hand. Look at the stewardess. He goes, "Stewardess, can you please take this for me?" Now I'm thinking, oh my God, Andre's going to sit next to me. Here I am, 330 pounds. Andre's 500 plus. So he sits down.
Hey.
Now, I got a big breakfast in the morning, so I just wanted to get whatever sleep I could. So they put some food on my thing, and Andre goes ahead, and I'm sleeping. He gives me a big chop on my chest. Pow! I mean, his hand took up my whole chest. I'm like, oh my God. He goes, "Boss, you want your food?" "Okay, Andre, take whatever you want. That's cool, man. I can't breathe right now." That's how it was, man. I was, oh my God. That's how big his hand was. The guy was that big.
How quick was Andre's temper?
Andre could. This is another good one. Duluth, Minnesota.
Okay.
It was Big John Studd and Andre they were doing an angle. John Studd didn't do the angle right. He muffed it up.
Did he step over the rope in front of him? Because I heard Andre didn't like him stepping over.
No, Andre didn't like anybody except for him.
Okay.
Listen, that's out of respect for Andre.
Right.
Andre's the only one that did that.
Right.
So, something happened in that match. I went wrong for that angle. All I know, it was 20 below zero outside in Duluth, Minnesota. I lived in
What is it
Minneapolis.
not? Go on.
And
Hey.
John came out. He ran down that aisle, grabbed his bag, didn't even put a shirt on yet. He says, "I got to get out of here." He ran to his car in 20 below zero without a
300
shirt.
plus pounds of him.
360-pound man.
Moving his
to
ass
car.
off. Oh, my God.
And here comes Andre a couple seconds later. "Where's John?"
boy.
And I knew something happened in that ring. I knew it because Andre was hot.
Right.
He was hot.
Right. Oh, God.
Got another question from the audience. We
Yes,
actually
sir.
have two. The first one is from Lenny, whoever Lenny is. Lenny asked, and I'm quoting, "Who was the biggest dick to you in the industry?"
Get to the point, Len.
Sorry,
Go
Len.
on. No.
You know, that's fine. I really didn't have anybody of that stuff. Everybody, I got along with everybody. I just did my own thing.
You got along with everybody?
Yeah, I just did my own
Look
thing.
at you.
And
I
the
just did my own thing.
second question is from Jack, who's asking about your bodyguarding. How did you get into it? And who's your favorite people to look after?
Well, I bodyguard a whole lot of people.
Yeah, we got to talk after the show.
Yeah, but of course, working for 50 Cent, Curtis Jackson, that was a lot of fun. Curtis is a good man. Good man. Doesn't drink, doesn't smoke, doesn't do anything, tries to work out when he can, takes care of himself.
Says his prayers,
And
eats his vitamins.
Yes, very hard worker.
Okay.
And also Kimball Slice. Kimball was great.
Slice.
I love Kimball. Kimball was a great family man and probably the hardest puncher
Ooh.
I've ever seen in my life.
Really?
Yeah, Kimball.
Anyone difficult to work with?
Not too much in that stuff. I mean, like I said, everybody had their style. As far as I can remember, really, I pretty much, I was able to work with everybody. There's maybe one NWA with Italian Stallion.
Italian Stallion.
Maybe Italian Stallion a little bit.
Yeah, buddy.
But no, everybody, it was all pretty good. Pretty good.
Okay.
Keep the questions coming, folks.
Yes, thank you, folks. The hard question to ask. Thoughts when Hawk passed? Did you see any warning signs over the years?
Listen, Hawk was a person. He was. I got him because we're all from Minnesota. I loved Hawk. Hawk was great, but he had demons. Hawk had demons, and those demons took him over a lot. One time we were in, I believe it was Europe, and we're on a tour, and for 4 shows he didn't show up. He got caught with some biker gang, took over some biker gang for a while. When he got there to the show, went on a table and passed out, snoring away.
Was he the type you could talk to, or was he the type live and let live? It's his life.
I could talk to Hawk great.
Right.
I could talk to him great. Now, there's a lot of Hawk had animosity with other people. I know that.
Right.
But he was a Minnesota guy, and all of us Minnesota guys got along great. I loved Hawk. Hawk was just one of those people, man. He would just he was Hawk. I mean, the way he could talk, the lines he came out with, he just off the top of his head that he could do and that stuff. I mean, were just great.
Were they your greatest influence, the Road Warriors?
Yeah.
It's sounding that way.
Yeah, Road Warriors. They were, like I say, man. When I saw them and what they did, it was like I say, they changed tag team wrestling.
You realize what a mark I am. I'm sitting there at home, like rooting for you guys, and we go, "Why are they putting the belts on them?" Blah blah blah. Meanwhile, you guys are buddies hanging out at the bar. What's going on here? This is what a mark I am, Miller.
We all are at some point.
Yeah, no good. How did you feel when your childhood company fell by the wayside? I mean, you grew up watching Vern's company. You grew up watching. We're going to have Greg Gagne in the studio soon. Yeah. Any thoughts when are you melancholy when you hear that the company's done with? Or?
They weeded themselves out. I mean, they didn't keep up with the signs of the times. Sign of the times was WWF.
Right.
That was it.
Right.
That's exactly what it was.
Thoughts on Vern?
Vern was a good wrestler. He had a good company up there for the time he was there. I mean, the old guys like the Crusher, all those guys. Mm-hmm. He had a great company in that stuff. But he just didn't keep up with the times.
What would make the Warlord watch the product again? What would you like to see change?
Kind of bring back some of the old school stuff. I believe that what would be so unique if they could combine the old school and the new school together. You could have all those big fancy.
How do you
moves
do that, though? I mean, how are we doing that?
I don't know.
Storyline number one?
One that could do it could be Goldberg. He's an old school wrestler. Mm-hmm. He could definitely bring some of that stuff and everything else, and then put out some of the young guys doing all those things.
What's more important, the character development, a good storyline, or a good in-ring match? Which is the most important factor between the two?
I believe all of it. Okay. I believe you have to have a good, strong character, but you also have a good storyline. Mm-hmm. They both go together.
Mm-hmm. Were your promos written for you back in the day?
No.
So you guys were going off the cuff.
Yeah,
Any thoughts on the fact that everybody here read this? Any thoughts on the fact that that's what
I can't stand it. It's like doing. It's like being. It's like going to doing a movie part or something.
You can tell the difference, can't you? When
you can tell the difference. Yes.
Thoughts on Roman Reigns? You must have some, because this is who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Because you could tell that they're. I don't want him to do that. You could tell they're making him.
And listen, Roman could talk.
I think
I
so.
mean, especially coming from The Rock and all that stuff. And I know Roman can talk, and I wish they would let these guys talk. Let them say what they feel, and that's what you want. That's what the people want to hear. What comes from you, not what comes from somebody on a paper that thinks they know your character, that they don't understand your character like you understand your character.
What would be your guess if you could give me a percentage of what's the percentage that Vince actually does listen to the fans? Is it 80-20? Like he'll hear it, but most of the time he'll go, shut up. I mean, I almost feel like it's 80-20. Do you think he listens at all? Or is it basically, unless they force him like the Daniel Bryan thing
I think Vince is pretty much going to do just what he wants to do.
So he does whatever he wants to do.
He can do that.
All right. Well, I want to thank you for taking your time with us today. That was
Thank you, man.
Freaking awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, Warlord from the Powers of Pain. And to my left, we have the mighty master of promotions, the master of ESS, Eric Sims. What's up, Eric?
No BS, your cult hero. It's ESS, and we're back on the road once again. And this time, the Warlord. You hear him here on the Monty and the Pharaoh show. And later today, 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock, we'll be at the Wrestling Universe in Queens, New York, and it's free. So show up. You get one item signed for free by the Warlord. Show up. Come support the Wrestling Universe. And then tonight, TCW Titan Championship Wrestling. The Warlord will be there. Here's a big match tonight. Come on down and support this new brand at the, where is it at? It's in Totowa, New Jersey. So Passaic Valley Elks Lodge. I forgot my own goddamn plug. Yeah.
Go.
Anyway, Passaic Valley Elks Lodge. It's on Fellner Place in Totowa, New Jersey. The Warlord will be there. All of Titan Championship Wrestling stars and superstars will be there. Come out and support the brand. 6 o'clock tonight. Titan Championship Wrestling.
Who are you mauling tonight? Do you even know?
He's in a big match against Steve Monster Mac. That's a huge matchup. So show up and find out where these two titans collide with each other tonight. Passaic Valley Elks Lodge, Totowa, New Jersey. I'm going to be there, and so should you. And then anything else, ESS? ESSpromotions.com for everything ESS.
And remember, there's no BS
with ESS.
Thank you. Thank you, Eric. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to wrap it up now. Don't forget, you can catch Monty and the Pharaoh every Thursday night here at Village Connection Network. That's at 8:05 Thursday nights, 8:05 TBS time. We are also available on Channel 115 on your Cablevision outlets. That's on Tuesday nights from 8:30 to 9. You can also catch us on Saturday mornings, Channel 115 from 6 to 6:30. This has been the Pharaoh with the Warlord. Till next time, later.